Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Ocean and this is Ocean Heart Cries, where we cry out to God through our singing, through words, through what He wants to say to us, in us, through us. So today I'm gonna be talking about the pressure the pressure we put on young people and the fight that they have to fight, and I think sometimes we don't realize it.
Gotta be honest, that we're not this or that. I'm this and that. You think you are that? I quite literally am.
So I believe, and I think especially in the Christian community, we talk a lot about generational curses, we talk about generational wealth, we talk about generational transference, and all these things are true, all these things are, we've seen the evidence of them over time, we've seen the evidence of these things happening. And one thing that came to me during a conversation the other day was that there are a lot of young people, especially in the church, who they start out in the church and then they leave, and parents or, you know, guardians or are people who help to raise these children, they say they become, I won't say upset, they are upset, but they're also disheartened, let's use that word, when their children leave, or when their children backslide, or when their children um has a child out of wedlock, all that stuff. And of course, we have every right to be disheartened because, we've prayed, or they have prayed for their child, they've prayed over their children, they have believed and hoped that their children would, do better than them. But what I realized the other day was that the fight for children who do not have the example that you want them to live up to is much harder, right? So we talk about generational curses, right? Now, and listen, this is not to offend anybody. This is not to say that you're not doing a good job as a parent or a pastor or whatever. But what I'm saying is, I'm gonna use me for example. And they say Pastor Pitney them are the worst and them rude, but me, I've made an intentional effort to do the best that I can. I'm not perfect. I will never say that I'm perfect or I have gotten everything right. I have not. But there are some things that I will not walk into because my parents have already cleared that path for me. One, being married before having us, being married before starting a family, being married before moving in together, being married before all of that stuff. So, one thing that may not be a generational curse to me is being married before having a family, right? And that is not to say that I am not tempted. That is not to say that I am high and mighty and I will not, or the opportunity to fall will not arise. What I'm saying is, I am more, what's the word? Like, I'm less likely to, because that is a curse that was already broken off of my life, our lives. So I say that to say that if you are a mother or you are a father who you're a single parent and you have lived a life that one your children know about, it is much harder, especially if you still don't have an example for them to look up to in your immediate household. That is a curse that is much harder for them to break. It's a curse that is much harder for them to break because they don't have that immediate example. Now it is for them and for you to be extra or even more intentional about not falling into the traps of the enemy. It is their it has to be their will and their desire to want more for their lives, to want more for themselves, to be able to pray and to fast and to break these curses that are on their lives, right? And so we become disheartened, we become sad, we become whatever because our kids, they left the church, them do this, them do that. But my question to you is, and this is not to let anybody feel bad or anything, but it's a genuine question that I feel like needs introspection. My question to you is, what example are you giving to your children that says, yeah, this is the life that I'm supposed to live? And I'm gonna be real with you. You cannot expect your children to not have sex before marriage, to not have children out of wedlock, to not drink, to not smoke, to whatever. If you are not living an example that they can look up to. Because whatever it is that they see you do, the enemy will not, he will not, even if you're on your walk with. And another thing, I'm going back to that point, but another thing, if you're in a household where it is divided and you are the Christian and your husband is, or your baby father or whatever is not, let me tell you, you're going to pray a little bit harder for your kids to want to err to the side of you, because sin looks sweet. Children are, they love instant gratification. They love the things, and that's how we are entrapped in sin, because it's instant, it looks sweet, it looks pleasurable. And if you have a divided house, and then you're like, oh my god, I can't believe my children are this, let me tell you, your kids, the enemy is gonna ensure that your kids, your children are gonna err to the side of destruction versus you walking into the kingdom of God, because serving God is a next level, it's a next level of dedication that you must be willing to have, right? And I'm not saying that your prayers don't work, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that if you pray you can't pray them out, that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, what example have you given your children to live by? You cannot come to church, pray, do the most, and then go back home and you have the man at your yard where you don't marry to. It don't work like that. And you can't have your children having examples of you struggling with things that you don't want them to struggle with, because that is hypocritical. That is hypocritical. And so, if you want your children to walk the path of righteousness, let me tell you, you better be an example for them to walk the path of righteousness. And on top of that, you're gonna have to pray that God gives them clarity. He sets people in their lives, people, their peers, their teachers, their whoever is in their ear constantly, their friends, to be friends of wisdom, friends of understanding, past teachers of wisdom, teachers of understanding, teachers of spirit, like teachers who are in tune with God, so that these daily examples that they have around them are not things that are negative, are not things that are causing them to deflect, are not causing them to go into the ways of this world. And I'm so serious. You cannot expect, and anybody that watches this and you have an arguing point, you can sound off in the comments because I'd love to hear another side of this. I'm not saying that I am all right, but I'm just saying this is a perspective that was given to me the other day. And I just believe that if you want your children to walk in the way that they should go, you should be an example. You should be an example to these children, to your children. You cannot be a hypocrite and expect them to live the life of righteousness, a life of truth, a life of walking in the way of holiness and of the Lord. That is my stance. That is my point of view. Your children, there are some curses that they have a harder fight in, a harder fight. Them have to fight harder than other people because it is a curse that has not been broken. And so when you pray for your children, remember that. Remember that these are some things that are still in our bloodline that's affecting them. So you can't don't chastise them, don't rule them out, don't kick them out, but love them and learn where these things are coming from, where they have come from. Because me I tell you, the fight is real when you have spiritual parents, and it's real when your worst don't have spiritual parents. It's realer, right? And so your kids, your children, they need you. They need you to stand with them. They need you to be good examples of what they should live by, and they need resources that will help them, saturate them in resources. So if you're not married, well, at least have them in an environment where they can see godly married people, so they know how they should walk. They know what examples to look up to. Say, I don't have this together in my life right now, but I'm actively working on becoming better. And in the meantime, this is who you can look up to. This is who you should look up to. These are some people who have godly marriages, or they live godly lives. They are people who are honest, and they are held accountable. And um this is their testimony, and this is, I think this will be beneficial to you. Find mentors for your young people, find mentors for your children. If you know that you're not at the place where you can, give them the soundest of advice, but you know you want better for them, find and pray for mentors and godly people for your kids, for your children. And that is what I have for you today. You cannot be a hypocrite and expect your children to lead godly lives. I don't think it works like that. But if you have a different point of view, if you have a different opinion, if you have something else to add, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And I look forward to seeing what you guys think. I look forward to you praying for your kids even more, and for just a community to grow. Because our children, we need you. We need strong parents. We need parents who live godly lives. We need parents who lead by example. And so, if you're not together, get it together, because your kids are suffering, man. And it's not the time to suffer. It's not the time for that. It's the time for us to be walking a holy and righteous, God-filled life. So yeah, that's my charge. That's my little 2 cents for today. Get it together.